This is live from New Delhi. You're watching DT India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next hour. US President-elect Donald Trump sentenced to unconditional discharge in a hush money case. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a podcast calls for good people to enter politics, stressing that they should come with a mission, not ambition, putting idealism over ideology. President Draupadi Murmu confers Pravasi Bharatiya awards on 27 members of the Indian Diaspora. Pravasi Divas 2025 comes to a close. World officially breaches 1.5 degree Celsius global warming record in 2024, but in a relief, Antarctic sea ice rebounds in December, say scientists. US President-elect Donald Trump has been sentenced to unconditional discharge for his conviction last year on 34 charges of business fraud related to hush money payment to Stormy Daniels during the 2016 presidential campaign. Now, this case against Trump stems from his efforts to cover up hush money payments made to Daniels to keep quiet about their alleged affair before the 2016 elections, which were won by Donald Trump. The next report tells us how this hush money case against Trump evolved. United States President-elect Donald Trump faced sentencing on Friday after the Supreme Court denied his last-minute appeal on Thursday to halt proceedings in his hush money case. The court noted that the judge who presided over case has already said that he plans to impose a sentence of unconditional discharge, which does not carry any jail time, fine or probation. After the ruling, Donald Trump told journalists that he respects the court's opinion and termed the ruling an attack of a political opponent. The US President-elect said he will be appealing in the case and expressed confidence that justice will prevail.
I respect the court's opinion. I think it was actually a very good opinion for us because you saw what they said, but they invited the appeal, and the appeal is on the bigger issue. So, we'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out well.
Hush money case hogged international attention, and it goes back to the March of 2023 when Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, a Democrat, charged Trump, a Republican, with 34 counts of falsifying business records to cover up his former lawyer Michael Cohen's $130,000 payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels. This was to buy her silence just before the 2016 elections, allegedly, when Trump defeated Democrat Hillary Clinton. Prosecutors argued, given tardy nature of the allegations, the case was an attempt to corrupt the 2016 elections. Trump's attorneys claim that the immunity from prosecution granted to a sitting president should be extended to a president-elect, while Manhattan District Attorney rejected these arguments, saying that Trump was a private citizen when he was charged, tried, and convicted. It was a hard-fought battle for President-elect Trump, who pleaded not guilty. The trial played out against the extraordinary backdrop of Trump's campaign to stake claim on the White House. Trump called accusations of fraud, defamation, and sexual abuse an effort by opponents to weaponize the justice system against him and harm his re-election campaign. Interestingly, the hush money case was a mixed bag politically. Contributions to Trump's campaign surged after he was indicted in March 2023. During the trial, polling showed his standing among Republicans slipping after the guilty verdict. But the case faded after President Joe Biden's debate performance led him to drop out with much reluctance, with Vice President Kamala Harris replacing him on the Democratic ticket. This was followed by a shocking assassination attempt on Donald Trump at Butler Rally in Pennsylvania. How unlikely is it for President-elect to get jail time due to his advanced age or a lack of criminal history? Well, that's the big question. All this amidst Trump's spectacular election victory and looming inauguration, making a sentence of jail or probation even less practical or a remote possibility. Sakal Bhatt's report for DD India.
DD India's Jessica Taneja joins us live from Newsroom. Jessica, you've been tracking the story very, very closely. So basically, what does this really mean? Unconditional discharge. Is this something which has come on expected lines? Bring us up to speed with the deliberations of the trial.
You're absolutely correct in pointing out that this has come on expected lines. Unconditional discharge is what had been anticipated by the New York State judge, who initially had said that the sentencing would go on even though it was appealed in the Supreme Court, which again then rejected the delay in sentencing of Donald Trump when it comes to the hush money case. Now, interesting to point out, Sakal, the fact that hush money case was among the weakest of the 4 criminal cases Donald Trump was faced with right up to the election campaign. And this is the only case perhaps that has reached the conclusion to the extent where there was a jury, there was, it's reached to the point of sentencing. And the fact that most of the cases have in a way been taken care of because the defendant here is the future president of the United States of America, and that too one that will be at the helm of affairs in the next 10 days. So of course he does have legal recourse, which is now this sentencing would allow him, in fact, that he can appeal this as he had in the past. Even the Supreme Court, when it had heard Donald Trump's appeal quite recently, in fact on Thursday yesterday, had bypassed the course of appeals. But you're talking about the President of the United States, whose inauguration day is just in 10 days. So of course he has legal recourse available. And also important to know and remember the fact that last year the Supreme Court had in effect in its ruling granted him immunity from prosecution because he is the elected President of the United States of America.
Having said that, was the outcome of today's trial, I mean, we're not really jumping the gun here, Jessica, but a foregone conclusion? Because we do know it's been a historical trial with many firsts, many twists and turns. And as you rightly pointed out, President Trump happens to be the former president of United States of America as well as the future president.
That's correct. It is one of the many firsts that we're witnessing from the legal ambit, so to say, of the United States of America, and how the Constitution really Constitution values really take shape. And perhaps in all of this, it's important to understand that the reason we're talking about the sentencing, which initially was due to take place after Trump's inauguration day, after 20th of January, when he would become president, and this perhaps sentencing would still, of course, then would have been unconditional discharge. But right before his inauguration day, and the fact that the Supreme Court judges presiding over the ruling that rejected the delay in sentencing were also conservative judges that Trump had appointed. For example, Amy Coney Barrett. And looking at Judge John Roberts, Supreme Court Justice John Roberts is going to preside over the swearing-in ceremony of Donald Trump in another 10 days. So it is in fact a very, very interesting turn of events for the last few days we've seen from the New York State Court right up to the highest court of the country, which is the US Supreme Court.
Yeah, very interesting. Now the point that you've pointed out, rather, Jessica. So the selection of the jury and the impending inauguration and the repercussions of today's development as far as him taking over next, what do you see? What happens next?
Well, he will be the President of the United States of America, and he does have legal recourse. Department of Justice will technically be under him. So one could just put the pieces together quite easily to understand what is to come in the future. We've already seen the Supreme Court judges in their ruling back in July last year grant him that immunity from prosecution, even though there were certain legal precedents that were coming forth for discussion. But even though he remains, marred by those allegations still, but as soon as he becomes president, there is a different set of legal solutions that he will have to grant him that immunity from prosecution, which somehow must have created some turbulence at this point. But even the President of the United States, the incumbent President of the United States, Donald Trump, knows that this is something that can be sort of appealed in the future and will be taken care of.
All right, we leave it there. Thank you very much, Jessica Taneja, for giving us insights and analyzing this big breaking for us. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Now, let's move on to some other top stories on DD India. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi shared insights about his political journey, his personal perspectives in a podcast hosted by entrepreneur Nikhil Kamath. This was a candid conversation where Prime Minister Modi spoke about the qualities required to be a successful politician, stressing that winning the hearts of the people should be the primary focus. Tripti Tripathi gets us more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi appeared on his first ever podcast hosted by Indian entrepreneur Nikhil Kamath. The conversation covered diverse topics, including global conflicts, the role of youth in politics, and his tenure as Prime Minister. PM Modi underscored the need for good people to enter politics with a mission and not ambition.
कि राजनीति में निरंतर अच्छे लोग आते रहने चाहिए और मिशन लेकर के आए, एम्बिशन लेकर के नहीं। अगर मिशन लेकर के निकले हो तो कहीं न कहीं तो आपको स्थान मिलता जाएगा। एम्बिशन से ऊपर होना चाहिए मिशन।
Highlighting the importance of idealism, Prime Minister Modi remarked that while politics requires ideology, idealism is the true driving force. He emphasized that his ideology has always been to prioritize the nation above everything else.
पॉलिटिक्स में आने का मतलब चुनाव लड़ना ही जरूरी थोड़ा है जी। वो तो लोकतंत्र की एक प्रक्रिया है जी कि मौका मिलेगा लड़ लीजिए। काम तो है जन सामान्य के दिलों को जीतना। चुनाव तो बाद में जीते जाते हैं और जन सामान्य के दिल जीतने के लिए जिंदगी उनके बीच में जीनी पड़ती है जी। जिंदगी को उनके साथ जोड़ना पड़ता है।
In a candid discussion, Prime Minister Modi spoke about the dangers of staying in a comfort zone, urging people to embrace challenges to grow. He revealed his belief that his own risk-taking potential remains untapped. Prime Minister Modi also emphasized how India's transparent and honest governance has earned global trust.
हम न्यूट्रल नहीं है। जो लोग कहते हैं कि हम न्यूट्रल है, मैं न्यूट्रल नहीं हूं। मैं शांति के पक्ष में हूं। मेरा पक्ष है शांति और मैं उसके लिए जो प्रयत्न होगा उसमें साथ दूंगा। मैं ये बात रशिया को भी बताता हूं, मैं बात यूक्रेन को भी बताता हूं, ये मैं ईरान को भी बताता हूं, मैं पैलेस्टाइन को भी बताता हूं, इजराइल को भी बताता हूं और उनको मेरी बात पे ये भरोसा है कि मैं जो कह रहा हूं वो सच कह रहा हूं और उसके कारण भारत की क्रेडिबिलिटी बढ़ी है।
Beyond politics, Prime Minister Modi delved into personal anecdotes about his early years, education, and managing setbacks. His reflections offered listeners a rare glimpse into his journey and leadership philosophy. Prime Minister Modi's first podcast was not just a discussion, but a window into the mind of a leader committed to his mission for the nation. Bureau Report, DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Coming up next, this is what we have for you. Israel confirms the death of another Israeli hostage, Hamza al-Zadna, sparking massive protests. Earthquake measuring 5.9 on the Richter scale hits west coast of Colombia on Friday. Sudanese government changes banknotes, move draws major criticism.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt. The President of India, Draupadi Murmu, addressed the valedictory session of the 18th Pravasi Bharatiya Convention and presented Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Awards today at Bhubaneswar in Indian state of Odisha. Hailing the Indian diaspora as the best of our country, President Murmu lauded the diaspora's contribution in diverse fields of technology, medicine, arts or entrepreneurship, and she said the world acknowledges and respects. DD India's Amritpal gets us this detailed report.
India's President Draupadi Murmu on Friday graced the valedictory session of the 18th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas Convention in Bhubaneswar, Odisha. The event aims to honor the significant contributions of the Indian diaspora to India's progress and global image. President Murmu also presented Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Awards to 27 people. Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Awards is the highest honor conferred on overseas Indians. While addressing the event, President Murmu said, India is marching towards Viksit Bharat, a developed India by the year 2047.
Our nation today is marching towards Viksit Bharat, a developed India by the year 2047, when we will celebrate 100 years of our independence. This vision is not just a government initiative, it is a national mission that requires proactive and enthusiastic participation of every Indian, including those living abroad.
President also outlined India's vision for Viksit Bharat with its growing stature on the international arena.
Our vision for Viksit Bharat aligns with our growing stature on the world stage, particularly as a leading voice of the global south. It is guided by our timeless philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or the world is one family.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also attended the event and highlighted the contribution of Indian diaspora.
The Indian diaspora has made outstanding contributions to both India and the world in diverse domains based on your immense talent, creativity, dedication, commitment and perseverance.
This year's event reinforced India's soft power and its ability to influence global discussions on development and culture.
This Pravasi Bharatiya Divas once again proved to be a strong testament of the deep relationship that India shares with its diaspora. As the Divas comes to a close and the Pravasis or the overseas Indians go back, they tell us they're going back with a resolve to return soon, but more importantly to become important stakeholders in India's growth journey. With cameraman Sanjay Jaina, this is Amritpal Singh at the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas Convention in Bhubaneswar.
The 18th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas Convention concluded on Friday in India's coastal state of Odisha, and a large number of Indian diaspora members from over 50 countries participated here. During the three-day convention, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar also held bilateral meetings with ministerial delegations of visiting countries.
Of the 18th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas Convention in Odisha was in line with the Government of India's Purvodaya plan, under which all-round development of 5 states of Eastern India, including Odisha, would be undertaken. The discussions during the PBD showed that Odisha is a leader in India when it comes to mining, iron and steel manufacturing, marine economy, sports, skilling, and even knowledge economy. Odisha is a rich tourism destination with culture, history, religious sites, national parks and pristine beaches.
The Pravasi Bharatiya Divas Convention has also provided an opportunity to promote what Odisha has to offer in terms of culture, heritage, tourism and investments.
There were many events on the sidelines of this convention. The Honorable External Affairs Minister and other cabinet ministers and ministers of state who were present during the 3-day session had bilateral meetings with the ministerial delegations from Mauritius, Malaysia and South Africa. They also had separate meetings with countries that had big delegations of diaspora, such as from Malaysia, Myanmar, Kuwait, Mauritius, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, United Kingdom and the United States of America.
In other news, a powerful cold snap has gripped Japan, bringing heavy snowfall to central and northern regions. The severe weather has caused widespread disruptions, including delayed high-speed rail services. Meteorological Department has predicted further heavy snowfall on Friday, primarily affecting Sea of Japan coast of Honshu, which is Japan's largest island. And European Union's report suggests a rise in overall temperatures. However, there has been a surprising turnaround in Antarctica seas ice levels as observed in December 2024, marking a clear shift from the record low levels seen in the previous months. The rebound has slowed the rate of sea ice loss, challenging earlier concerns about the potential for irreversible damage to the continent. According to data from the U.S. National Snow and Ice Data Center, the Antarctic sea ice extent had recovered to 7.3 million square kilometers by the end of 2024. This significant rebound brings the sea ice levels close to the average levels observed between 1981 and 2010. The recovery is a welcome respite from the record low sea ice levels recorded in 2023 and 2024, which were the hottest years on record globally. Well, climate change is pushing the planet's temperatures to levels seen never before. Scientists say the world has just experienced its hottest year ever, with temperatures surpassing 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels for the first time in 2024. Now, the implications of this are far-reaching. DD India's Diptanshu Kashyap reports.
The world just experienced the first full year in which global temperatures exceeded 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial times. Scientists of the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service have stated that human-caused climate change is pushing the planet's temperatures to levels never before experienced by.
The Bharat Climate Forum 2025 has kicked off in New Delhi today. The forum aims to position India as a global leader in clean tech manufacturing with the focus on achieving net zero emissions by 2070 and fostering self-reliance. The event was inaugurated by Union Minister for Electronics and Information Technology, Ashnavi Vaishnav, who spoke about the government's vision to achieve growth in the clean tech industry. Take a listen.
Power supply has even a very small little frequency variation that can cause the entire batch of production to go waste. So it requires a lot of collaboration with the electrical power companies. So I would like to say that when we talk of Atmanirbharta, when we discuss Make in India, when we discuss developing technology, first mindset is very, very important. Second, being able to collaborate with the wide range of contributors, that's again a very, very important point. The third thing which distinguishes our country vis-a-vis many other countries is the frugal mindset that we have.
Bharat Climate Forum 2025 is underway in New Delhi. As we told you, key stakeholders from public and private are deliberating strategies for scaling up clean tech manufacturing towards a sustainable future. Addressing a session on building workforce for clean tech manufacturing, Professor S. Sundar Manoharan from Pandit Deen Dayal Energy University said that academia and entrepreneurship should go hand in hand.
If we really want a workforce that will meet the demand of 500 gigawatt capacity, every institute, academia should become an entrepreneur by itself. But we are having 1,000 in our own institution, and there are scores of students waiting to have a hands-on experience. So, to make the story short, we are selling the panels as well, as much as we are skilling the people.
Union Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal participated in the Bharat Climate Forum 2025 in National Capital. He launched Bharat Clean Tech Manufacturing Platform. This platform is expected to drive clean technology, indigenization and secure financial resources for the domain. Minister Goyal said that Prime Minister Modi has set a target of 500 gigawatt renewable energy capacity by 2030 and India is well ahead of climate commitments.
We had made nationally determined contributions at the COP21 in Paris in 2015. And we are very committed to meeting those targets that we had set before us. So much so that almost on every score we are well ahead of our targets.
The minister also said that subsidies and incentives are detrimental for clean tech industry in the long run.
You had significant conversations around the enabling framework and possibly also incentivization of meeting these targets of promoting green energy, promoting renewable energy, making sustainability the core of our work and thinking. And I'm very happy to see that there is a demand, there is a acceptance of this new field in India.
Well, we have now this report which is going to tell you how climate change is pushing the planet's temperature to levels never seen before. Scientists say the world has just experienced its hottest year ever, with temperatures surpassing 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels for the first time in 2024. Now, the implications of this are far-reaching. We get you more details in this report filed by Diptanshu Kashyap.
The world just experienced the first full year in which global temperatures exceeded 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial times. Scientists of the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service have stated that human-caused climate change is pushing the planet's temperatures to levels never before experienced by modern humans.
January to July has been the warmest on record. July was the second warmest, and then the from then on has been the second or close to first around. But when you put all of those together, then the trajectory is just incredible and sums up to the warmest year on record.
The planet's average temperature in 2024 was 1.6 degrees Celsius higher than in the 1850 to 1990 period, surpassing the previous record set in 2023 by a significant margin. This creates a 2-year warming spike that scientists are still trying to fully explain. Experts warn that these rising temperatures are pushing us closer to the critical 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold. Governments worldwide have committed under the 2015 Paris Agreement to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius to avoid catastrophic climate impacts. The first year above 1.5 degrees Celsius does not breach that target, which measures the average temperature over decades. But experts believe it is now clear that the Paris target will also be breached within the next 10 years.
We are steaming along a path of self-destruction. That despite all the efforts being made by a number of well-meaning countries and entities, that will remain way off the target of what is required to keep global warming to 1.5. And it's just so sad that despite all the warnings that scientists have given, that nations across the earth, many of which are based in rich countries, are continuing to fail to live up to their responsibilities.
The impacts of climate change are already being felt across the globe, with deadly wildfires in California, devastating floods in Nepal, and heat stress affecting nearly half the planet. Rising temperatures have also led to more intense storms and rainfall. Political will to address the crisis remains weak. As greenhouse gas emissions hit new record levels in 2024, the need for urgent action has never been clearer. Diptanshu Kashyap's report for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Coming up next, DD India speaks exclusively to Deputy Ambassador of Russia, who talks about the robust defense cooperation between India and Russia. And India's Home Minister Amit Shah will chair a regional conference on drug trafficking and national security. Event marking Hindi Divas organized at the Embassy of India in Kathmandu in Nepal.
Goa, a wild nature paradise, where over a third of the state remains wild today, and every corner is full of surprises. Goa's forests evolved through the seasons. Insects and crocodiles flourish in the monsoon, butterflies in the months after the rains subside, and in the winter, the jungle transforms into a haven for birds.
Oh, there's a female right next to him. Oh my god, is that 8 otters? That's one of my favorite things about these forests. There are still so many secrets out there.
Watch postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and before we move on, let's do a quick recap of the headlines we're tracking for you at this hour. US court sentences United States President-elect Donald Trump to unconditional discharge in hush money case. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a podcast calls for good people to enter politics, stressing that they should come with a mission, not ambition, putting idealism over ideology. World officially breaches 1.5 degrees Celsius global warming record in 2024, but in a relief, Antarctic sea ice rebounds in December, say scientists. Going back to our top story on the unconditional discharge of the US President-elect Donald Trump and what it means, we are very glad to be joined by Ambassador Manjeev Puri to discuss the ramifications of this big story. Ambassador, sir, thank you so much for joining us. Namaste. So, decode the whole unconditional discharge, which many would say has come. You're already given your first reaction, which comes on the expected lines. But this trial has been historical in many ways, where we are looking at the former president and the future president of America and the composition of the jury and much more. How do you look at it?
Sakal, thank you very much and wish you a very happy new year.
To you too, sir.
So Mr. Trump has again done many firsts. After, I think he's the second president to have come back after a gap, i.e. after losing an election, again standing and winning and coming back to the office. And this time, for the first time, I don't know in how many decades, the Republicans actually won the aggregate vote, not just the electoral college. So he is quite used to doing first, but this is, I don't know what to say. Practical ramifications there may not be, but he will always carry this business of being a convicted felon and one who has been sentenced. This is something also that he's the first who's done it. He tried his level best. He went to the New York State Supreme Court. He also appealed in the US Supreme Court. But I think none of them came to his rescue. And the judge in the New York jury, remember one thing. In the United States, you have the jury system. The jury is actually a kind of a way of judgment where your peers judge. So a jury composed of people who live in New York, ordinary people who live there, they convicted him. So, he did get convicted. Overturning a jury verdict is something which is rarest of rare in the United States and would have. And the judge would have sentenced him. It could have been some prison, fines, etc. But by the time it came around to sentencing, and Mr. Trump had tried all kinds of legal methods to stall all of that, he had been elected as president. So the judge really had very little options, because he couldn't have interfered or done something which would have interfered with a duly elected person to function as the president. So the only option was what is called unconditional discharge. This means he's sentenced, he's a felon, but no fines, no prison terms, nothing. But you know, if you say, or if you look at it like this, you and I would feel very bad. A stigma does get attached to you.
But were you surprised?
No, I wasn't. Because he had been convicted by the jury. So there would be sentence. Of that, there was absolutely no doubt. But after he won the election, the judge chose the one option which was available, which was to say, you stand sentenced, but the sentence is no fine, no prison term, no nothing at all. But you stand sentenced and that's it. In technical parlance in the US, it's called unconditional discharge.
Will it have any implications on the public sentiment? I mean, he won the elections, the campaigning was dramatic against the backdrop of the case itself, followed by assassination attempts, and there were many twists and turns till he actually reclaimed his stake to claim to the White House. So what next? I mean, the reasons that you've attributed, the way this case has unfolded, legally speaking, public sentiment?
Well, Sakal, public knew about it. He had been convicted by the jury even before 8th of November, the election day. So the people knew it. My understanding is that all those who voted for it, and it is now the majority in the United States, they knew about this. Frankly, in their understanding, he was the candidate that they wanted to make the president of the United States. They are aware of it. That he will carry this for himself. He will continue to, you know, when he looks into himself, looks around here and there, you would agree with me, it's not a good feeling to become the most powerful person in the world and then to carry this tag with you of being a felon, and that to one who has been sentenced.
What about his international standing, having said that?
I don't think all of this makes any difference. Everybody knew. Everyone knew this. But you know, he's the president of the United States of America. He's the president of the most powerful country, most important country for most people. The people will deal with him the way it is. How does it matter if you know that there is a little stain in his personal character? It doesn't really matter. You deal with the presidency, you deal with the person who is the president. And I think things will go forward, in my opinion, pretty normally. Of course, people could chuckle to whatever else in the background, but how does that really matter? You're dealing with the most powerful person in the world.
Ambassador, but this is also weakest of the weak as far as other cases that were slapped against President Trump. Many would say this was a case which didn't have much merit as compared to the other cases.
So look, this is a case which involved a technicality. The original offense itself of paying off somebody was a different matter. But then he hadn't declared it appropriately when he stood for the election in 2016. So was the allegation. The thing is that it went to a jury trial. In the United States and in countries which have juries, juries are the highest form of taking this particular kind of decision, because they say you're tried by your peers and your peers have taken a view. And he was convicted and the convictions are unanimous. You know, that's the nature of it. So you can keep having your views on the subject, but whatever 12 ordinary New Yorkers found that he had fallen guilty of the law, even if it was a technical breach, the fact was that he had committed what is a felony in their system.
What do you have to say, this being a singular moment in US's history where a president-elect or a former president faced sentencing for this kind of a case, which was controversial in many for many reasons, the conviction even after when the nation's highest court refused to intervene?
So Sakal, look, Mr. Trump is unique in every way, isn't it? I told you the second time in the history of the United States that somebody has come back to win. The fact that he was already convicted by the jury was known to the people. And look at that case about which this happened, the very fundamental case. I don't think on Doordarshan in India we can even repeat the allegations of that particular case. I mean, with our sense of morality, etc.
Right.
But you know, that's the United States of America. They look at it in various ways. People know about this. They are well aware. But their understanding is that's okay. We still think he is the best man to be the president of the United States and lead our country. And they voted.
Right.
And not only is it a victory in the swing states and so on and so forth, but it is a victory where in numbers he's won more votes than his right.
Yes. Well, that's the bottom line, and also that's the writing on the wall, and you got to respect people's verdict. We are talking about the oldest democracy here in the world. Ambassador, will this sentencing significantly impact Trump's upcoming responsibilities as a president? I mean, what do you
I don't think so at all. You know, look, he will continue to nurse this grounds. But that has nothing to do with how he will act, and it brings no impediments at all on his ability to act domestically and internationally. And, you know, he will rail against the judge. He may make some kind of efforts at appeal. I don't know if that is possible in the US system. He may do all of that. And of course, it is a kind of personal grouse and hurt, which will continue. But I don't think it will make any difference to his abilities to act. What it does in his own mind, etc., is a different matter. And the implications of that, going after those who prosecuted him in other fora where he has the abilities that they haven't resigned, or bringing some kind of similar things through his Department of Justice against people, or making criticisms on social media, which he's already done. He called the New York Attorney General all kinds of names. So that will continue. But that's the nature of the individual.
Right. One final question. When President Trump described his conviction as a weaponization of the United States justice system against a political opponent, calling it lawfare and other names, and then the way this trial has unfolded with the composition of the jury, etc., we are not commenting on anything. But do you think this whole weaponization and playing victim did it actually hold any ground with the masses there?
Look,
the constituency, I mean.
Yeah. So look, Saka, the US Supreme Court is heavily weighed in favor of the conservatives. They did not intervene. Remember, even in 2016, when he kept saying the election has been stolen, they didn't intervene. They have taken several other decisions, Roe versus Wade. They've taken the decision on the powers of the presidency, which literally allowed the January 6th allegations to become very, very difficult to prove in terms of competencies, etc., etc. So they've done all that, but they didn't intervene. These are the facts. His base will, you know, be more supportive, but right now, how does it matter? They've elected him. People have done. Those who voted the other way, I don't think this has made any difference from what they have. A little bit of a talking point, but that's about it. That's the way I look at it. He himself is nurse a grouse. And what he would do in terms of the individuals concerned, what he can do, you know, let's be also clear. He doesn't have unbridled powers. This is the state law. The United States is a federal country, and these people get elected on their own steam in their own way. So, you know, you can criticize, you can call it unlawful, you can say everything that you want, but can you really be able to take action? Well, again, the law comes in. The United States believes that its law has the greatest majesty. So let's see. Of course, it will. He'll nurse his own crowds.
Yeah. So the outcome has clearly cemented the conviction while freeing him to return back to White House for the second time. The case is done with. It's done and dusted, as they say.
Correct. Right. And he's president. So that's a fact. And unencumbered.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much.
In the mind.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much discussing this story with us on our show. Thanks, Ambassador Puri. Shifting focus now to Israel, where after a year of intense conflict, there is still some growing hope for a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. But as talks on the potential Gaza peace deal continues in Qatar, US President Joe Biden has expressed optimism, though Hamas is reportedly hindering that process. This when Israel has confirmed the death of another Israeli hostage, Hamza al-Zayadna. This has sparked massive protest in Israel, with citizens demanding urgent action from the government. DD India's Mihir Maikuri has more.
After a year of brutal conflict with hundreds dead and thousands displaced, there are growing hopes for a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Peace talks in Qatar have brought the US and Arab mediators closer to a potential agreement.
We're making some real progress. I'm still hopeful that we'll be able to have a prisoner exchange. Hamas is the one getting in the way of that exchange right now. But I think we may be able to get that done. We need to get it done.
A ceasefire could also lead to the release of remaining Israeli hostages. But amid these talks, Israel confirmed the death of another Israeli hostage, Hamza al-Zayadna, whose father, Yusuf, was also found dead in a Gaza tunnel. Following the news, Israelis gathered outside Jerusalem's Jaffa Gate, calling for swift action from their government.
The family of al-Zayadna.
The family of Hamza al-Zayadna suffered today a very, very devastating news. As all of Israel, and this is just the proof that we need to do everything in order to bring them home, because these Hamas monsters are killing them in these tunnels.
Our time is ticking, and we need to do everything as fast as we can. That will be getting back our brothers and sisters alive and not dead. And the time is ticking.
In addition to the fighting, Gaza is grappling with severe flooding from heavy rains. An internally displaced persons camp in Gaza City was submerged, with residents scrambling for clean water and shelter.
I am digging so the flood water can drain. Water entered our tents and the flood hit the children and women. Look, the mattresses and covers are all destroyed. We are displaced and didn't bring anything with us. I am barefoot, as you can see.
Ceasefire talks continue, but as of now, the hope for peace remains fragile. With Mihir Maikuri, Tanvi Taneja for DD India.
Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. We begin with Colombia, where an earthquake measuring 5.9 on the Richter scale has hit the west coast on Friday. The earthquake's epicenter was identified at a depth of 10 kilometers, causing ripples of concern in the region. With seismic activity noted in the area, locals and authorities are urged to stay alert for aftershocks. In a move that has drawn severe criticism from a major section, Sudanese government has changed their banknotes. Now, the decision aims to get as many people to open bank accounts while making funds looted by the paramilitary rapid support forces worthless. A decade after the deadly jihadist attacks shook France, French satirical newspaper Charlie Hebdo held a memorial evening as a tribute to the victims of the jihadist attacks in January 2015 in Paris. The attack killed over a dozen people, including some of the famous cartoonists of the newspaper. A violin made by renowned Italian craftsman Antonio Stradivari during the 18th century golden period is heading for an auction with an estimate of up to record $18 million. The violin will also go on display in Hong Kong and New York before the auction. An event marking Vishwa Hindi Divas was organized at the Embassy of India in Kathmandu on Friday. Councillor at the Indian Embassy, Gitanjali Brandon, read out the message of the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, on the occasion. She emphasized that World Hindi Day serves as a reminder of the rich linguistic heritage and cultural identity of Hindi speakers, Hindi enthusiasts and scholars of Nepal, whose contributions have played a pivotal role in strengthening the bond of friendship between Nepal and India through the promotion of the Hindi language, were honored on the occasion. As a part of the program, several schools in Kathmandu participated in Hindi poetry recitations. India-Nepal Maitri Kavi Sammelan was also held on the occasion, where distinguished poets recited Hindi poetry, captivating and mesmerizing the audience. Russia has acknowledged the growing stature of India on the global stage. DD India's Vishal Baristo spoke exclusively to the Deputy Ambassador of Russia at the Ambassadors Roundtable for Aero India 2025 in national capital. Russia and India have been long-standing partners in defence.
We are here at the Ambassadors Conference for the Aero India show, and I have with me the Deputy Ambassador of Russia. Let's talk to him and find out how important is this Aero India show, and when we talk about the Russian-Indian collaboration in aerospace.
Thank you very much. First of all, we would like to congratulate India for self-reliance in defense and the success of the decades-long partnerships with the friendly partners, especially Russia, which is, the oldest and most reliable Indian partner in the defense area. This event, the Aero India, which is much anticipated, will be another step in this direction. We are pretty sure that the Russian participation will be traditionally very active.
Sir, when we talk about India and Russia collaboration, you heard the defense minister saying that India believes in world is a family, and he also spoke about the changing geopolitical situation, and he also said that we need to create pathways for inclusive growth. So how do you see India's role as the leader of Global South?
India has made tremendous steps in these directions, while having a very successful and forward-looking chairmanship in G20 2023, when India has very successfully and very strongly defended the interests of the developing countries in the collaboration on vital issues of the global agenda and the initiatives of the Voice of Global South.
And how do you find the role of Indian Prime Minister there's a tension going on between Russia and Ukraine?
Diplomatic solution is something which Russia was seeking from the very beginning as well. The Western powers have derailed these peace talks, and in fact it's the conflict not between Russia and Ukraine, it's the conflict between Russia and the West, which has provoked this conflict, and a lot depends on their continuous, support of disruption of any peace initiatives and peace ideas.
There you heard the Deputy Ambassador of Russia. He says that India has definitely played a key role in settling the geopolitical situation and looking for a peaceful solution, and Aero India also gives Russia another chance to make its presence felt as a very strong partner of India. With cameraman Ashish in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristo with ED.
India's Defence Research and Development Organization has developed Him Kavach, that is multi-layer clothing system designed for a temperature range of plus 20 degrees centigrade to minus 60 degrees centigrade. The clothing system will be useful in military operations in cold weather conditions along the Himalayan region. Defence Institute of Physiology and Allied Sciences of DRDO has designed the system based on the concept of insulation required and has features of modularity and all-weather operation capabilities. And now let's take a look at other news that's making global headlines. India's Home Minister Amit Shah will chair a regional conference on drug trafficking and national security in New Delhi on Saturday. The conference is organized by the NCB, or Narcotics Control Bureau, which aims to address the growing concern of drug trafficking and its impact on national security. Director General National Cadet Corps, Lieutenant General Gurbirpal Singh inaugurated Idea and Innovation Competition in New Delhi on Friday. This unique initiative, which was taken up for the first time in NCC Republic Day Camp, will provide cadets with the tools and guidance to think critically and develop solutions to real-world challenges. India beat Ireland by 6 wickets in the first women's ODI and in Rajkot in Gujarat on Friday. Ireland's Gabby Lewis won the toss, opted to bat. Ireland put up 238 runs on the board in their 50 overs, with skipper Lewis top scoring 92. However, India chased down the target in just 34.3 overs. India's skipper Smriti Mandhana gave India an impressive kickstart, scoring a quick 41. Pratika Rawal held the fort for the hosts in the middle overs and scored brilliant 89. Tejal Husbands took India to the finish line and remained unbeaten on 53. And with this, India has taken a 1-0 lead in the 3-match series. Well, that's all we have for you in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those in the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world in DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.